Hey everyone, welcome to PC Perspective. I'm Ryan Shrout. Do you know what's better than one ASUS ROG Swift PG278Q G-Sync display? 3 of them. And we have 3 of those ROG Swift monitors behind us. If you watched our live stream last week, we had Tom Petersen in from NVIDIA, and one of the focuses we had was on G-Sync technology, and in particular the surround configuration that you see behind us. We have already done a review. We've already talked about the ROG Swift monitor a couple of times. The highlights and overview of it are 2560 by 1440 resolution, 144 hertz refresh, and then maybe the most important part, especially for our surround demonstration, is the fact that we have this 6mm bezel on the edge of the display, which means when you combine them, we're only talking about 12 millimeters or so of space between each of these monitors, and it actually makes for a better surround gaming experience. You can actually noticeably tell the difference. It was interesting when setting this up that in previous instances, I've used surround and Eyefinity for a long time. Usually the bezels are wide enough and thick enough that when you combine them side by side, that bezel correction really doesn't help anything for me. I usually would leave it off because so much data and information would be hidden behind that bezel correction. With this, that's definitely not the case, and enabling bezel correction actually made it a more kind of interesting and immersive, if you want to use that term, experience. It actually worked incredibly well. The 144 hertz refresh is awesome, and everything else about the display is pretty nice. Now, I will say, the system we are using to power this is a Sandy Bridge E Core i7-3960X 6-core processor, and we have 3 GeForce GTX 780 Ti graphics cards. Because these are G-Sync displays, they have to connect through DisplayPort, and NVIDIA's current GPUs only have a single DisplayPort connection. So that means if you want to do surround, you will have to have 3 high-end graphics cards. That also means our target resolution is 7680 by 1440 before we do any bezel correction. So not only do you need the 3 GPUs for the DisplayPort connections, but you need 3 GPUs for the horsepower to really run games at this resolution. And I will say that it's probably better if you were to get like Titan Black graphics cards that have 6 gigs of frame buffer as opposed to 3. When you get into super high resolutions and you want to increase image quality settings, that frame buffer will be more beneficial to you. So this is one of those cases where, you know, if you buy a 6 gig version of the 780 Ti, or even go up to the Titan Black, which has 6 gigs, you would probably see an advantage there. Setup is really easy. You basically are just setting up NVIDIA Surround as you have done in the past. You know, you tell it which 3 monitors you wanted to use. Hopefully you've only got 3 connected. And then you can organize them, you know, based on their pattern. And then bezel correction is very, very easily done inside the control panel as well. Once you have surround set up, bezel correction is well done, and they've improved how well that, or how easy that is to implement. And then after that, you basically have to worry about game support, and that's kind of something that is not really totally under NVIDIA's control. Since the introduction of multi-panel gaming, you know, looking back to the AMD Eyefinity days, it really comes down to the game developer taking note of some of those things and implementing improved multi-display technology, or support rather. For example, in Civilization 5 is a game that I really like, but doesn't play well with NVIDIA Surround or AMD Eyefinity configurations, really, because your HUD elements stretch all the way across the screen. You've got some in the top right and you've got some in the bottom left, and it makes it really, really hard to keep an eye on what's happening. Other games have really good integration for multi-panel gaming. Crysis 3 works really well, Battlefield 4 works really well, and then there are some games that are kind of in between. You look at something like Skyrim, it wasn't built with multi-panel gaming in mind, but through third-party applications like Widescreen Fixer or Flawless Widescreen Fixer, these utilities adjust INI file settings, they change some things so that you get a better experience. I won't say it's perfect all the time, but it's definitely better. I was able to play, you know, over the last, you know, several days, a bunch of games on these. We went through, I've got my list here, Wolfenstein, the new Wolfenstein game, played really well. Frame rates in the 30 to 60 frames per second range at high quality settings. And using the Flawless Fixer utility, all of the UI elements are constrained into the center monitor, and it's a really awesome experience. Skyrim plays well once you do the modifications. Grid 2, BioShock Infinite, Metro Last Light, this is the benchmark we're running, but the game itself plays really well. The UI elements are constrained. Tomb Raider plays really well. Watch Dogs, out of the box, was a pretty bad experience. They kind of like you zoom in, it crops the top and the bottom and you're basically zoomed in very dramatically in the game. But again, the Flawless Fixer app was able to adjust most of that, although some UI elements still had issues. And the G-Sync element of this is really what makes this more compelling, right? NVIDIA Surround has been around for a while, AMD Eyefinity has been around for a while, but it is the addition of G-Sync that I think really makes it, because when you're running in Surround, you're usually going to run at lower frame rates. Obviously, you're going to run at lower frame rates. Like I said, most of our games range anywhere from 30 to 70 frames per second, and that's kind of a perfect target for what G-Sync can help improve, right? So you're not getting any of the horizontal tearing, you're not getting any of the stuttering that you see with either V-Sync enabled or V-Sync disabled, and the G-Sync Surround experience is another step above what you get with Surround as it is at a base level. So this is something, it's not publicly available in the driver yet. Since Tom was out here, we got to set it up and preview it, so we did get to spend a little time with it early before it's actually available. So expect this, I think in the next month, this will be officially rolled out in the driver stack. They've said that they are going to release it, and there are probably, maybe there's even a couple people that already bought 3 of these monitors, and they're just kind of waiting for that driver. So it will be coming relatively soon. It's a $2,400 monitor configuration and about a $2,000 graphics card configuration as we have it set up. So you're going to have to be a pretty serious PC gaming enthusiast to make this kind of investment. But it is definitely a totally unique gaming experience that you will not find anywhere else. I have more of a review, the individual experiences with all those games that I mentioned earlier, talking about the pros and cons of what it was like to play on it, at pcper.com. Check that out, as well as some screenshots if you want to see kind of how it all gets laid out when you're running in Surround. Thanks, guys.